The warship hung in the darkness of space like a predator waiting for prey. Its black hull absorbed the light from distant stars. Commander Oz stood on the bridge, his 4 eyes scanning the holographic display in front of him. His species had conquered 17 star systems in the last 100 years. They had never lost a battle. They had never met a species they could not crush. There were tall creatures standing 7 feet high. Their bodies were covered in hard shells like insects. They had 4 arms, each ending in claws sharp enough to cut through metal. Their teeth could bite through bone. Evolution had made them perfect killers, and they knew it. "Commander," said his second officer, a younger named, "our long-range sensors have detected a small vessel. It appears to be a cargo ship." Oz turned his head slowly. "Species?" "Unknown, Commander. The computer is searching the database now." The holographic display flickered and changed. It showed a small ship, ugly and simple in design. It looked like a box with engines attached to it. There were no weapons visible on its hull, no armor plating, no defensive systems of any kind. "The database has found a match," continued. "The species is called human. They come from a small planet called Earth in a distant arm of the galaxy. They have only been traveling between stars for about 200 years. Oz made a sound of amusement. His species had been conquering the stars for 10,000 years. These humans were bobbies, infants taking their first steps into a universe that would eat them alive. "What do our bioscanners say about them?" he asked. "Studied the readings carefully. No natural weapons, Commander, no claws, no venom, no armor. Their skin is soft and easily damaged. They are slow compared to most species. Their strength is average at best. Their senses are poor. They cannot see in the dark. They cannot hear high frequencies. They cannot smell danger approaching." "Threat assessment?" "Negligible, Commander. The scanners rate them as one of the least dangerous species in the known galaxy." Oz felt his mouth twist into what passed for a smile among his people. This would be easy. A cargo ship meant goods to take. A weak species meant no resistance. His soldiers needed practice, and these humans would provide it. "Intercept the vessel," he ordered. "Prepare a boarding party. 12 soldiers should be more than enough." The warship's engines fired, and it began to move toward the small cargo freighter. Aboard the human vessel Silent Dawn, Captain Park sat in his chair on the small bridge. He was a man of 43 years, with gray hair at his temples and lines around his eyes from years of squinting at stars. He had been a cargo hauler for 20 years. He had seen many things in the darkness between worlds, but he had never seen a ship like the one now appearing on his sensors. "Captain," said Lee, his first officer. She was younger than him, maybe 30, with short black hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. "We have a problem." Looked at the screen. The alien warship was huge. It was at least 50 times the size of the Silent Dawn. It was covered in weapons. It was coming straight toward them. "I see it," he said quietly. "They are hailing us," said from the communication station. He was the ship's engineer, a thin man with clever hands and a brain that never stopped working. "They are demanding we stop and prepare for boarding." Considered his options. The Silent Dawn had no weapons. It was not fast enough to run. There was nowhere to hide. They were alone in empty space, far from any help. "How many crew do we have?" he asked. "7, including you, Captain," said. Nodded slowly. 7 humans against an alien warship. The math was not good, but Park had learned something important in his 43 years of life. Math did not always tell the whole story. "Stop the engines," he ordered. "Let them come." Looked at him with surprise. "Captain, we cannot fight them in space. But if they board us, things become different. This is our ship. We know every corner of it, every door, every shadow." Turned from his station. "They will have weapons, armor, training." "Yes," agreed. "They will have many things, but they will not have the one thing that matters most." "What is that?" asked the ship's medic. She was standing in the doorway of the bridge, her medical bag over her shoulder. She was small but strong, with steady hands and a calm mind. Stood up from his chair. He looked at his crew, these people who had traveled with him through the empty darkness for years. They were not soldiers. They were not warriors. They were workers, traders, ordinary people doing ordinary jobs. But they were also human, and being human meant something that no alien scanner could measure. "We have something they cannot see," said. "Our ancestors survived ice ages. They survived predators with claws and teeth. They survived diseases that killed millions. They survived wars, famines, and disasters that would have destroyed any other species. And do you know how they survived?" His crew watched him silently. They survived because they refused to die. They kept going when their bodies told them to stop. They kept fighting when their minds told them it was hopeless. That is what it means to be human. We do not know when to quit. The alien warship was close now. They could see it through the windows, blocking out the stars with its massive bulk. "When they board us," continued, "they will expect us to be afraid. They will expect us to surrender. They will expect us to be easy prey. But we will show them something their scanners could never detect. We will show them what humans are made of." He looked at each member of his crew in turn. With her quick mind, with his knowledge of every system on the ship, with her understanding of how bodies worked and how they could be broken. The 3 cargo handlers, strong men with arms used to heavy lifting. "We may not have claws," said. "We may not have armor, but we have something better. We have each other. And we have 10,000 years of survival written into our blood." Outside, the alien boarding craft detached from the warship and began moving toward the silent dawn. Inside, 7 humans waited in the darkness, preparing to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The airlock door exploded inward with a blast of fire and smoke. 12 soldiers poured through the opening, their pulse rifles raised and ready. They moved with the confidence of creatures who had never known defeat. Their armor gleamed under the ship's lights. Their claws clicked against the metal floor. Squad leader was the first through the door. He was a veteran of 30 campaigns, and he had killed more enemies than he could count. His scanners swept the corridor ahead, searching for threats. The readings came back the same as before. No weapons, no danger, just soft, weak creatures hiding somewhere in the ship. "Spread out," he ordered his soldiers. "Find the crew and bring them to the cargo bay. Do not damage them too badly. Slaves have more value when they can still work." The soldiers moved through the ship in pairs. The silent dawn was not large. It had only 3 main areas: the bridge at the front, the crew quarters in the middle, the cargo bay at the back. Finding 7 humans should take only minutes. Walked toward the bridge with 2 soldiers behind him. The corridor was narrow, forcing them to move in a single line. The lights flickered above them, old and poorly maintained. This ship was garbage, he thought. These humans were poor and weak. Conquering them would bring no glory, but it would be easy. He reached the bridge door and kicked it open with one powerful leg. The room beyond was empty. Chairs sat before control panels. Screens showed stars and status readings, but there were no humans. "They are hiding," one of his soldiers said. Checked his scanner again. It showed 7 life signs scattered throughout the ship, but they were not moving, they were just waiting. A strange feeling crept into his mind. Something was wrong. He could not say what it was, but his instincts were screaming at him. These creatures should be running. They should be crying and begging for mercy. That was what weak species did when they came for them. But the humans were not running, they were waiting. "All units report," said into his communicator. "Unit 2 moving through crew quarters, no contact. Unit 3 approaching cargo bay, no contact. Unit 4 checking engineering section, no contact." Frowned, where were they? His scanner showed them clearly, 7 small dots scattered through the ship, but his soldiers could not find them. It was as if the humans had melted into the walls. Then the lights went out. The darkness was complete and sudden. Eyes, adapted for bright daylight, became useless. He activated his thermal vision and the world turned into shades of red and orange. He could see heat signatures now. The walls were cool. The engines in the distance were warm. And there, at the end of the corridor, was a human. It was a female, small and thin. She stood perfectly still, watching him with eyes that showed no fear. In her hand was something metal, not a weapon, just a piece of pipe. "Surrender," commanded. "You cannot fight us. Our scanners have already confirmed you are no threat." The human female smiled. It was a strange expression, showing her teeth. Had seen many species bare their teeth, usually as a sign of aggression. But this human had teeth like a plant eater, flat and blunt, not dangerous at all. "Your scanners," the female said, "are wrong." Then she moved. Had never seen anything move like that. One moment the human was standing at the end of the corridor. The next moment she was beside him, the pipe swinging toward his knee. He tried to block, but she was already past his guard, striking the soft joint where his armor did not cover. Pain exploded through his leg. He stumbled. The human was behind him now, striking another soldier in the same place. The soldier fell. The third soldier raised his rifle, but the human threw something at his face. Powder. Spices from the ship's kitchen. The soldier screamed as his eyes burned. By the time regained his balance, all three of his soldiers were down. The human female stood among them, breathing hard but unharmed. The whole fight had lasted maybe 10 seconds. Hal whispered. "You have armor on your chest," the female said. "Armor on your back, armor on your arms, but your knees bend backward, which means the joint must be flexible. Flexible means soft. Soft means weak." She tapped the pipe against her palm. "I read a book about your species once. I remembered." Screams echoed through the ship's communication system. Other squads were reporting contact. Other squads were falling. In the engineering section, had activated the cargo loader, a machine designed to lift heavy containers. He drove it through the darkness like a weapon, crushing soldiers against walls, trapping them under falling equipment. He knew this ship like he knew his own body. Every switch, every system, every way to make the machines do things they were never designed to do. In the cargo bay, the three cargo handlers fought with tools, hammers, chains, heavy bars meant for securing containers. They were not trained fighters, but they were strong and they were angry, and they did not stop coming no matter how many times they were hit. In the medical bay, waited in the darkness with a needle in her hand. When a soldier came through the door, she did not run. She stepped close, inside the reach of his claws, and pushed the needle into the soft membrane where his neck met his shoulder. The sedative was meant for surgery on large animals. The soldier was unconscious before he hit the floor. And at the center of it all, Captain Park walked through his ship like a ghost. He did not fight directly. He was too old for that and too smart. Instead, he guided his crew through their communicators, telling them where the soldiers were, where to set traps, where to hide, and where to strike. He had studied the ship's layout for 20 years. He knew every shadow, every corner, every place where a tall creature with 4 arms would have trouble moving, and he used that knowledge like a weapon more deadly than any gun. The soldiers tried to regroup in the main corridor. There were only 5 of them left now. 7 soldiers had fallen in less than 10 minutes, fallen to creatures their scanners said were harmless. Squad leader looked at his remaining soldiers. They were scared. He could see it in their eyes, smell it in their scent. They had never been scared before. They had never faced anything that could hurt them. "We retreat to the cargo bay," he ordered. "Seal the doors, wait for reinforcements." The soldiers moved quickly, grateful for a chance to escape the darkness. They reached the cargo bay and sealed the heavy doors behind them. For a moment there was silence, safety. Then a voice came through the door, a human voice, male, calm. "You are in my ship," Captain Park said. "In my territory. You came here expecting easy prey, But we are not prey. We have never been prey. We are the species that hunted everything else to death. The soldiers gripped their weapons. Your reinforcements will arrive in 6 hours, the voice continued. That is a long time to wait in the dark, and we are very patient. The lights in the cargo bay flickered once, then went out. The cargo bay was dark and silent. 5 soldiers sat with their backs against the walls, weapons pointed at the sealed door. Squad leader checked his communicator again. Still 6 hours until the warship could send more troops. 6 hours in this metal box, surrounded by creatures that should not have been able to hurt them. Private, the youngest soldier, kept his eyes fixed on the door. His hands trembled slightly on his rifle. He had trained for 3 years. He had been told that we're the greatest warriors in the galaxy. He had believed it completely. Now he was not so sure. They cannot get through the door, said, trying to sound confident. It is reinforced metal. We are safe here. Nobody answered. Nobody believed him. The first hour passed slowly. The soldiers sat in darkness, listening to every sound. The ship creaked and groaned as metal expanded and contracted. Pipes gurgled somewhere in the walls, normal sounds for any spacecraft. But now every noise made them jump. Every shadow seemed to hide a human. Found himself thinking about what the female human had said. She had read a book about their species, one book, and from that book she had learned exactly where to strike to bring down a warrior. One book. How many books did humans have? How much had they learned about the galaxy in their short time among the stars? The second hour began. The soldiers were tired. Biology required sleep every 4 hours. Their bodies produced chemicals that demanded rest. To stay awake too long was painful, then dangerous, then deadly. This was not a weakness. It was simply how their bodies worked. His eyes grew heavy. He shook his head, trying to stay alert. Beside him, another soldier's head began to droop. Then a sound came from above. A bang, loud and sharp. Everyone jerked awake, weapons raised. They stared at the ceiling. Nothing, just metal plates and wiring. Silence returned. Minutes passed. The soldiers relaxed slightly. Another bang, this time from below. Then another from the left wall. Then footsteps, running across the ceiling, stopping suddenly. They are trying to scare us, said. Ignore it, they cannot get in. But ignoring it was impossible. Every time a soldier began to drift towards sleep, another sound would come. A bang, a scrape, a voice humming a strange tune, never an attack, never actual danger, just noise. The third hour passed, could barely keep his eyes open. His whole body ached for sleep, but every time his eyes closed there was another sound. The humans were taking turns, he realized. While some rested, others made noise. They were working in shifts. How long can they keep this up? One soldier whispered. Humans can stay awake for days, another answered. I read the report. They have contests on there, competitions to see who can go longest without sleep. The record is 11 days. 11 days. Felt something cold settle in his stomach. Could barely survive 2 days without sleep. These creatures, these soft, weak, harmless creatures, could outlast them 5 times over. The fourth hour began. The temperature in the cargo bay was rising. The air was growing thin. The humans had done something to the environmental systems, not enough to kill them, just enough to make them uncomfortable, just enough to add to their exhaustion. Tried to adjust the controls in the cargo bay, but they did not respond. The humans had locked them out. They were in complete control of the ship now. We should attack, one soldier said suddenly. Break through the door, fight our way to the airlock. That is what they want, replied. They are waiting for us to leave this room. In the corridors we are at their mercy. At least here we can defend. Defend against what? The soldier demanded. They are not attacking, they are just waiting. That was the worst part, thought. The humans were not trying to break down the door. They were not trying to fight their way in. They were simply waiting, patiently, calmly, like hunters who had cornered their prey and knew that time was on their side. This was how humans hunted, he remembered from the briefing files. Long ago on there, before they had tools or weapons, they had hunted by following animals for days. They would walk after their prey, never fast, never aggressive, just following, hour after hour, day after day, until the animal collapsed from exhaustion, until it could run no more. The humans were hunting them now, and they could not run. The fifth hour was the worst. Soldiers were falling asleep despite themselves, their bodies shutting down from exhaustion. Walked among them, shaking them awake, shouting orders, but it was useless. We're not built for this kind of endurance. They were built for quick, violent battles. Charge, kill, victory, that was the way. The humans understood this. They had studied their enemy and found the weakness that no scanner could detect, not in bodies or weapons, in time itself. A voice came through the door, the same calm male voice from before. Your soldiers are falling asleep. I can hear them. We can wait longer. We will always wait longer. That is what we do. Felt tears forming in his eyes. He was not crying from sadness. He was crying from exhaustion, from fear, from the horrible realization that they had lost before the battle even began. What do you want? Shouted at the door. I want you to understand something, the voice replied. Your empire has conquered 17 star systems. You have defeated species with claws sharper than yours, with armor thicker than yours, with weapons more powerful than yours. But you have never faced anything like us. A pause, then the voice continued. We do not fight with our bodies. We fight with our minds. We plan. We adapt. We learn. And when we cannot win with strength, we win with time. You can stay in that room for 6 hours. You might even stay for 12. But eventually you will open that door. Eventually you will be too tired to hold your weapons, and we will be waiting. The lights in the cargo bay flickered. For just a moment saw a face at the small window in the door, a human face. It was watching them with eyes that showed no anger, no hatred, just patience. Endless, terrible patience. The 6th hour arrived. The soldiers could barely stand. Their weapons hung loose in their grips. Their eyes were red and swollen. They had lost. They knew they had lost. The only question now was how it would end. The door opened. Captain Park walked in alone. He was unarmed. He was not even wearing armor. He was just a middle-aged human in simple clothes, looking at them with something that might have been pity. Put down your weapons, he said quietly. Nobody else needs to get hurt. This is over. One by one, the weapons fell to the floor. Squad leader was the last to surrender. He looked at the human with confusion in his 4 eyes. How? He asked. Our scanners said you were no threat. They said you were weak. Smiled slightly. Your scanners measured our claws, our venom, our armor, all the things that make a species dangerous in a fight. He stepped closer, and despite everything, despite being unarmed and small and soft, his presence filled the room. But they did not measure the thing that makes humans truly dangerous. They did not measure our will, our refusal to accept defeat, our ability to keep going when everything tells us to stop. He looked at the exhausted soldiers, and his voice grew soft. We are not the strongest species. We are not the fastest, but we are the most stubborn. And in the long run, that is what matters most. Commander Oz stood on the bridge of his warship, staring at the communication screen with all 4 of his eyes. What he saw made no sense. It was impossible. It was against everything he had ever known about the universe. His 12 elite soldiers, the finest warriors in his command, sat in a row on the floor of the human cargo ship. Their weapons were gone. Their armor was damaged. Their wrists were bound with simple cargo straps, and standing behind them, calm and unharmed, were the humans. There were only 7 of them. 7 soft, slow, weak creatures with no claws, no armor, no weapons worth mentioning. And they had defeated 12 warriors in their own boarding action. A human male stepped forward to face the camera. He was older, with gray in his hair and tired lines around his eyes. He did not look like a warrior. He looked like someone's grandfather, but his eyes were hard and his voice was steady. "Commander," the human said, "my name is Park. I am the captain of this vessel. Your soldiers are alive and unharmed. They will stay that way as long as you do exactly what I tell you." Oz felt rage building in his chest. No one spoke to a commander this way. No one gave orders to the conquerors of 17 star systems. He wanted to give the command to fire, to turn that pathetic cargo ship into dust and atoms. But something stopped him, something in the human's eyes, a certainty that went beyond confidence. This creature believed, truly believed, that he was in control of this situation. "You are in no position to make demands," Oz said through the communicator. "I command a warship with 300 soldiers. I could destroy your vessel with a single shot." "Yes," the human agreed. "You could, but you will not." "Why not?" "Because then you would never learn what happened here today. You would never understand how 7 unarmed civilians defeated your elite warriors. And without that understanding, it will happen again. To other ships, to other soldiers, until your empire learns that humans are not prey." Oz said nothing. The human continued. "Your scanners told you we were harmless. They measured our claws and found none. They measured our venom and found none. They measured our speed, our strength, our natural armor. By every standard your technology could detect, we should have died in the first 30 seconds of your boarding action." The human paused and looked directly into the camera. "But your scanners made a mistake. They measured everything that makes a species dangerous in a moment. They did not measure what makes a species dangerous over time." He walked closer to the screen, and his voice grew quiet. "Humans are not built for quick fights. We are built for long ones. Our ancestors did not hunt with claws or teeth. They hunted by following their prey for days, for weeks, until the animal was too tired to run anymore. We evolved not to be faster than our enemies, but to outlast them." Oz thought of his soldiers in the cargo bay. 6 hours of waiting, 6 hours of fear and exhaustion, 6 hours of humans simply being patient while biology broke down. "Your species requires sleep every 4 hours, the human continued. "Ours can function for days without rest. Your species fights with strength and speed. Ours fights with planning and adaptation. You came onto my ship expecting easy prey, and you found something your empire has never encountered before." "And what is that?" Oz asked despite himself. "A species that does not know when to give up." The human female, the one who had defeated 3 soldiers with a metal pipe, stepped forward to stand beside her captain. "I read one book about your species," she said. "One book, and I learned where your armor was weak. Imagine what we will learn when we study you properly. Imagine what we will know about your empire in a year, in 10 years, in 100. Another human joined them, the thin male who had used the ship's machines as weapons. "Every system on this vessel is now under my control," he said. "Life support, engines, communications. I know this ship better than I know my own body. Your soldiers never had a chance because they were fighting on my ground with my tools against my knowledge." One by one, the other humans gathered behind their captain, the medic who had used her healing knowledge to bring down warriors, the cargo handlers who had fought with hammers and chains, 7 ordinary people who had done an extraordinary thing. "Here is what will happen now," Captain said. "You will withdraw your ship from this sector. You will return to your empire and tell them what happened here. You will tell them that humans are not to be attacked, not to be enslaved, not to be treated as prey." Oz felt his claws tightening with anger. "And if I refuse, if I destroy your ship and pretend this never happened? Then other will make the same mistake. They will attack human ships expecting easy victory, and they will find what you found. Our kind of warfare is not something you can shoot with a gun or cut with a claw. It is patience. It is adaptation. It is the refusal to accept defeat no matter the odds." The human's voice hardened. "Your empire has conquered species with bigger teeth, sharper claws, thicker armor, but you have never conquered a species like us. And you never will. Because every time you knock us down, we get back up. Every time you think you have won, we find a new way to fight. That is what it means to be human. He stepped back from the camera and gestured to the captured soldiers. Take your warriors and go. Tell your emperor, your generals, your people. Tell them that there is a species in this galaxy that cannot be measured by scanners. A species that does not fight fair, does not give up, and does not forget. Oz stared at the screen for a long moment. 300 soldiers on his warship. Enough firepower to destroy a small moon. And yet, looking at these 7 creatures standing calmly among his defeated elite, he felt something he had never felt before in his long military career. Doubt. We will meet again, human, he said finally. I know, Captain replied. And when we do, you will find us ready. We are always ready. We have been preparing for enemies like you since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what was waiting for us. The only difference is, now we know. He reached toward the control panel. Go home, Commander, and remember what you learned today. The communication screen went dark. Commander Oz stood in silence for a long moment. Then he turned to his second officer, who had watched the entire exchange with growing horror. Set course for home, Oz ordered. We have a report to make. Commander, we are just leaving, without retaking our soldiers, without destroying that ship. Oz looked at the viewport, where the tiny human cargo freighter hung in the darkness of space. Such a small thing. Such a simple, ugly, harmless-looking thing. That ship has taught me something valuable, he said quietly. It has taught me that there are things in this universe that our scanners cannot see, things more dangerous than claws or venom or armor. He turned away from the viewport. Today we learned that humans exist. Now we must learn what that means, before they learn too much about us. The warship turned slowly and began moving away from the silent dawn. As it vanished into the darkness, Captain Park watched from his bridge with tired eyes. Do you think they will listen? Lee asked. Some will, replied. Some will not, but they will all remember, and that is the first step. He sat down in his chair and closed his eyes. We have just changed the galaxy, he said. Now we wait to see how it changes us. 3 months had passed since the incident aboard the Silent Dawn. In that time, the story had spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. At first, no one believed it. The Empire had conquered 17 star systems. They were the most feared warriors in the known universe. The idea that 7 unarmed humans had defeated their elite soldiers was laughable. Then the reports started coming in. A patrol ship attacked a human mining colony on the edge of explored space. The colony had no military, no weapons, no defenses. They expected to take slaves and resources without resistance. 3 days later, the patrol ship sent a distress signal. The miners had collapsed tunnels, flooded compartments, and fought with drilling equipment until they retreated to their ship, with half their soldiers wounded or dead. A trading post in the outer reach reported a similar incident. Human merchants had been taken hostage by pirates from a species called The pirates were 8 feet tall with natural body armor and claws that could cut through steel. They held their human captives for ransom. 2 weeks later, the pirates released the humans and fled the sector. Reports said the humans had escaped their cells, taken control of the pirate ship's life support systems, and slowly lowered the temperature until the cold-blooded could barely move. Then they simply walked out, taking half the pirate treasure with them. The galaxy was starting to notice that something strange was happening with the humans. In the great halls of the Galactic Council, representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss this new development. The council had existed for 10,000 years, mediating disputes and sharing knowledge among the stars. They had seen empires rise and fall. They had watched species evolve from savages to civilization. But they had never seen anything quite like humans. Ambassador Hin of the Empire stood before the council with his head held high. though his voice carried a weight that had not been there before. 3 months ago, one of our patrol ships encountered a human cargo vessel, he began. We expected routine subjugation. We found something else entirely. He activated a holographic display showing the Silent Dawn and its crew. These 7 individuals defeated 12 of our elite warriors. They had no weapons, no military training. They were civilian traders returning from a mining expedition, and they won. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Our scientists have studied the incident extensively, Hin continued. They have analyzed every aspect of human biology, psychology, and behavior, and they have reached a conclusion that I must share with this council. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was quiet. Humans are the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. The murmurs turned to shouts of disbelief. Ambassador In of the Collective, a species known for their powerful acid attacks, stood and laughed. Dangerous, they have no natural weapons, no armor. They are slower than children of my species. Their senses are dull. How can they possibly be dangerous? Because danger is not only measured in claws and venom, Hin replied. Humans are pursuit predators. Their ancestors hunted by following prey for days until the target collapsed from exhaustion. They evolved not to outrun danger but to outlast it. He brought up new images on the display. Charts and graphs showing human endurance levels, sleep requirements, healing rates. A human can function without sleep for several days. They can survive injuries that would kill most species. They can operate in temperature ranges that would disable any of us. Their bodies are designed for one thing above all else: survival, at any cost, for any length of time. But we have weapons, In said. We have technology. Surely these things matter more than endurance. We thought so too, Hin said quietly. Then Captain Park defeated our soldiers using nothing but darkness, patience, and a cargo ship he knew better than we could ever understand. He did not fight our weapons with weapons. He fought our expectations with reality. He made us face his rules instead of ours. Another ambassador rose. This was of a species known for their powerful telepathy. My people have attempted to read human minds, she said. It is difficult. Their thoughts are chaotic, unpredictable. They think in patterns we cannot follow, and beneath all of it there is something we have never encountered before. What is that? Someone asked. Hope. Even in impossible situations, even when all logic says they should give up, humans maintain hope that they will find a way to survive. This hope is not based on probability or calculation. It is simply part of what they are. They believe they can win, and so they fight as if they can win, even when they cannot. She shook her head slowly. We cannot defeat an enemy that does not accept the concept of defeat. The council chamber fell silent. For the first time in generations, the representatives of 100 species had nothing to say. Finally, the senior arbiter, an ancient being from a species so old that no one remembered their original name, rose from his seat at the center of the chamber. This council has monitored humanity since they first left there 2 centuries ago. We considered them unremarkable, a young species taking their first steps into the galaxy, nothing special. He paused and looked around the chamber. We were wrong. We measured them by the standards we use for all species: speed, strength, natural weapons. But humans did not evolve those things because they did not need them. They evolved something else, something we did not have a category for. He brought up a final image on the display. It showed Captain Park, sitting in his ship's chair looking out at the stars. Humans evolved the ability to never stop trying, to keep fighting when their bodies fail, to keep planning when their situation seems hopeless, to form bonds with others that survive any hardship. These traits made them the dominant species on a planet filled with creatures that should have killed them 1,000 times over. The senior arbiter's voice carried through the silent chamber. This council hereby issues a new classification for humanity. All species are advised to update their threat assessments. The previous rating of negligible danger is removed. The new rating is as follows. Text appeared on every screen in the chamber. Simple words that would change the galaxy forever. Humanity threat level, do not engage. Far away in a small cargo ship traveling through ordinary space, Captain Park received the news through a data transmission. He read it slowly, then handed his tablet to Lee. "It seems we have made an impression," she said. Nodded, "The galaxy knows about us now. They know what we can do." "Is that a good thing?" He thought about the question for a long moment. Through the viewport, stars drifted past like snowflakes in slow motion. Each one had planets. Each planet might have life. And now every species on every world would know that humans were not to be treated as prey. "It is a beginning," he said finally. "Whether it is good or bad depends on what we do next." Looked up from his engineering station. "So what do we do next, Captain?" Smiled slightly. It was the same question humans had been asking since they first looked up at the night sky and wondered what was out there. "We keep going," he said. "That is what we have always done. We face whatever comes next and we keep going." He turned back to the stars. "Set course for the next port. We have cargo to deliver." The silent dawn flew on through the darkness, carrying its crew of 7 ordinary humans who had done an extraordinary thing. Behind them, the galaxy was changing. Empires were reconsidering their strategies. Species were updating their databases. Powers that had ruled were quietly, nervously, making plans for a future that now included humanity. But aboard the cargo ship, life went on as it always had. Coffee was made, jokes were told, work was done. That was the human way. Face the impossible, survive it, and then get back to living. The stars had noticed them now, and the stars would never forget.